to Tibara's Den. My name is Whitney and welcome to today's speed build. Just in case you haven't seen the previous videos, we are doing a series based on the different zodiacs. We are doing both Western as well as Chinese zodiacs, and we're actually doing what's called Primal Zodiac. And so, each month we're going to do the Western zodiac sign that changes that month, as well as their Chinese zodiac twins. And then in the weeks in between, we are actually working on the Primal Zodiac, which just combines your Western zodiac sign with your Chinese zodiac sign. And so that's what we've been working on. We've already created Aries, and his Chinese zodiac twin is actually the dragon. So they were created the first week, and then this past week, we did the first 6 Primal Zodiac elements under the House of Aries. And so this is the build for those first 6. I've actually already done the next build as well as the next 6 Sims. And so those will be coming, the next 2 weeks. You'll see those create a sim as well as that final build. But that's what we're doing here. So this is kind of a bonus video. Normally I upload Mondays and Fridays. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you are notified when I do upload. But for this build, I didn't want to wait till the end, and that way hopefully you've watched the other videos and you can have these sims fresh in your mind as we're talking about this build, so you kind of know the characters that are going in here. If you haven't checked out those videos, definitely do so. I'll leave them linked in the description below as well as at the end of this video. But yeah, that's what we're working with here. It is a long one. There's 6 sims in this build, and I was trying to include the different personalities and such, so there's like a gym, there's a office, there's a lot of like exercise equipment, things like that. I was trying to include all of that for these different sims and their different personalities. So it is a long video, but again, in case you haven't seen my other videos, I really like the whole process. I like watching the whole process, and I personally prefer longer videos, and so that's kind of my style. And yeah, I like showing you guys the whole process, and I cut out dead space, but I cut out as much as I could in this video, and the rest is all my processing and kind of how I think through things. And you can see there's a lot of adding and then deleting and moving things around. I do like to use the window tool where it places the windows by a room, and then I can adjust the windows based on that, because I really struggle with windows and roofing sometimes. I think I'm getting a little bit better at roofing. Still not the greatest by any means, but I've definitely improved from the beginning, and it's not quite the struggle it used to be, but I do still struggle, and windows are still just, I never know where to place them. So like I said, I do use the place a room at a time tool, and that way it places the windows for me, and then I can kind of adjust and delete as I'm putting things in the build. But sometimes I don't have enough windows and it looks really awkward, and then doing it this way, sometimes I have way too many windows, but I'd rather have too many windows than not enough. And like I said, I do go in as I'm building and adjust the window size and the placement and things like that. Of course, we are working with the House of Aries, and so external, I did a lot of reds, and then the bulk of like the main part of the house is also utilizing a lot of red, since Aries' lucky color is red. That's kind of the overall theme I'm going for, so each of the builds kind of match aesthetically, especially on the exterior. But inside, I try to take into account the different lucky colors for each of the Chinese zodiacs, and that way it's not all the same, and it's not all just red, because it does kind of get boring, especially doing 3 different builds and it's all red. It's not so pleasant. So that's kind of what I'm working for. I'm doing some landscaping, and I'm using the tip I learned from Sydney Macaretta, which is to place a tree in each of the 4 corners. And that's a good way to place trees, because I always kind of struggle with that, with knowing where to place the trees, and landscape in general is not my biggest strength either. I don't typically have a lot of patience for it, and so it's kind of a struggle. But hopefully, I'm improving on my landscape as well. And I think I go overboard a little bit too. I don't like seeing the foundation very much, and so I tend to put a lot of landscaping along the foundation all the way around the house, which I don't think is always very realistic, but that's kind of something I tend to do, I've noticed. And I try to mix it up as well, so it's not all the time, but quite often I'm putting a lot of landscaping around the foundation, and so you just really can't even see the foundation, which is silly because I spend so much time trying to make sure it matches as well. But yeah, this is what we're working with, and I needed to make it 3 stories because, like I said, I do have 6 Sims, and I needed to include some space for like extra things that kind of fit their personality. So it is a 3-story building, and the second build is 3 stories as well, which you'll see on a Friday in 2 weeks. So I try to make it as similar but different as possible. Like I said, I wanted the similarity since they're both House of Aries, and they're actually on neighboring lots, so I put the next house just to the left of this one. And so, especially externally, I wanted a lot of similarities. Internally, again, tried to mix it up, but they are both House of Aries, so I wanted certain similar traits as well. And then, of course, my plants are clipping here, so I have to go in and fix that. That seems to be always a struggle. You're trying to get it as close to the house as possible, and then it ends up clipping through, and you have to go back in and fix it. And it's definitely an OCD thing of mine. I hate seeing plants clip through the walls. Even if it's just like one little leaf, it drives me insane. And so I will spend a lot of time trying to make sure there's no plants clipping or anything like that. And so now we're working on this little outside area. I like the idea of them having like their communal area out front. I think especially for my Doberman and the hippopotamus sim, I think they would definitely want to keep an eye out. In case you haven't seen Monday's video, the the hippopotamus Primal Zodiac sim is a detective, and then the Doberman is a secret or military, a covert operative. And so I like the idea of them having most of their communal space out front, so as they're grilling and such, they can kind of keep an eye on the neighborhood. They're probably always scoping out, wanting to know what's going on, so they don't mind that their communal space is in the front and there's not that privacy, because they want to keep an eye on the area and make sure everything is safe. And then this room here is for my catfish sim. It's going to be like a sunroom. And so I really struggled with the windows here. You can see I'm placing and deleting a lot. And that's because I wanted a lot of light, but none of them looked good, like none of the big windows. And what I should have done is changed my color filter from red to white, and I probably could have gotten like big windows, but instead I just went with the windows you see there, and I just put them like really close next to each other, so it's like a solid line of windows. But ideally that's not what I was originally going for. And then out here, all these sims are extremely active, and so I needed to make sure they had active activities. And so I knew I wanted a basketball court, and I didn't think placing the one like on the side of the house, one, I didn't really have an area for that, and two, I think that wouldn't necessarily be active enough for them. So I put this one out here, and the only thing I wish I had done that I didn't is put like actual like concrete or flooring down, because right now they're playing on the grass, which really does not make a whole lot of sense. And then I do a ping pong table, and then also an easel, and again that's for my catfish sim. He is creative, and so I gave him the painter extraordinaire aspiration, so there's easels everywhere. There's one in the front there, you see, there's one in the back, there's one in the sunroom, and then there's also one in his room. And so they're just kind of everywhere for him, because like I said, he is creative, and I did give him the painter extraordinaire aspiration, so I thought that was definitely a necessary aspect for the build overall. And this was kind of difficult trying to incorporate all of the different personalities and sim characters that I was working with. And so it was a little bit frustrating, but because I actually built this so far in advance, I was able to take my time with it. And so I actually did this build over 3 days. I don't even know how many hours it took me. A lot. Let's just say a lot. I think the video portion of this, before I cut everything down and sped things up, I want to say it was close to 8 hours. And so, it was like a full day's work, but spread out over 3 days. But yeah, that's what we're working with here. And I try to take, in the common areas, I try to take some of the most common lucky colors for the different Chinese zodiacs. And so a lot of them had like purple or like a yellow or gold for them. And so I was trying to incorporate that into all the areas along with the red in the communal areas. And that way it was, one, it wasn't just a solid red, and two, it kind of took into account the different lucky colors for the different zodiacs. And like I said, in their personal space, I was able to really make it different. But in the communal spaces, it was kind of hard to combine that. And so that's why I put the purple table there, because I thought that was a good nod. Because like I said, a lot of them, their lucky color is purple. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have the lucky color as purple. And so that's why I wanted to incorporate that. And then, like I said, a couple of them have like a gold or yellow as a lucky color. And so the wallpaper, has the gold accent on it. And so that's kind of what I was playing with here. And so I like the idea of the flag as well, since we do have the covert operator and the detective sim. I think, they're very proud to kind of serve and such. And so I like the idea of having that flag out front, which I've never used the flag before. I didn't really even realize it existed until I came across it and put it in this build. So, but yeah, this is a little entryway, nothing too fancy. I put the shoe racks there, and then like a little stool so they could sit and get their shoes on. A little entry table, the jacket, and the umbrella stand, of course. And actually, this was really, really frustrating. When I went to go back through my walkthrough, I didn't even notice it as I was continuing to build, even though I was back and forth a lot. But when I went through to go do my walkthrough, a lot of things were deleted. So that front arch was actually not there, and so I had to put that back in. I put the skis and snowboards under the stairway there. That wasn't there. I put like another entry table, and that actually got deleted, which you'll see here in a second what I did. And so the second entry table is not near as nice as the first one that I had created, because at that point I was trying to do my walkthrough. It was getting late. I was tired. I wanted to be done with this build, and it had totally deleted several items that I had put in. So I was really, really frustrated with that. And you'll see several areas where it's like that. And so I do go back in after I do my walkthrough and fix things. Some of them I went in while I was doing the walkthrough and put them back in, so there wasn't a big empty space when I was taking pictures and such. But other spots you'll catch I didn't fix, and so it's just like an awkward spot. Like I think in my Doberman's room, Divana, I put a bookshelf and then I put extra books on that bookshelf, and the bookshelf got deleted. The extra books are still there, so there's just like these floating books on the wall, which is really, really awkward. And this sign, the poster board there with all the what are they called, postcards, that got deleted. And so it was really, really frustrating going in, and it actually did it on my second build too. It deleted several items, but I caught it that time before I did the walkthrough, because I knew it had happened on this build. and so it wasn't quite as frustrating, but it's still really, really frustrating because like I put all that work into putting these items here and it just deleted. And it's not like the NPC thing where like the kleptomaniac thing, where we had that bug, where people were just stealing like if they were free in or whatever. It wasn't that because I hadn't even played in this build yet. It just didn't save those items for whatever reason. And like in the dining room, I had put 2 different tapestries up, and it only kept 1 tapestry. And like I said, this entry table here, which I really really liked. I had the travel fund there. I had the books and the world globe. And the little plant, like it looked really nice, and it deleted that. So I had to put down a new end table, or accent table, and I just put like a bunch of random stuff. I think I put the fighter dude helmet thing there, and like incense. Like I just put a bunch of random stuff because it completely deleted it. And like I said, at that point I was frustrated and I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. So I didn't. And then in the hallway there we have the Aries painting, or the poster, whatever you want to call it. And I'm actually meant to put that in my second build because it's in my first build as well, in Aries' room. And so I meant to put it in, well, I guess technically my third build. This is just, I have Aries and Dragon's house, and then this is the House of Aries 1, and then I have the House of Aries 2. And so it's a little confusing that I numbered them like that, but yeah, I have it in Aries build and then this build, and I forgot to put it in the last build. Which I meant to because I like the idea of that kind of tying them all together since they're all under the sign of the Western zodiac sign of Aries. But like I said, I did forget to put it in the final build, which is something I'm probably going to try to go back and do. And I have all the different zodiac posters, so I wanted to do that under each zodiac sign. But now we're on to the living room. Again, it's a communal area, so I went very heavily red in this area. And I have these bay windows, so I put like a bunch of plants up there. And none of my Sims I really think are really into plants, but it was a way to kind of fill up the space. And I do think they would kind of like it because they are adventurous and kind of outdoorsy type Sims. Not so much like nature lovers, they just like to go on adventures outdoors, and so that's kind of a way to maybe bring the outside in, especially in like the winter where they maybe can't do as many adventures and things like that. And so I do put a lot of plants in this build, even though I don't really get that vibe from any of the Sims. Maybe my catfish is the one that likes the plants and kind of places them in the different areas, and kind of takes care of them. He's the only one I can really see truly enjoying like caring for plants and such. None of the others, like I think they would enjoy the aspect of having the plants, but I don't think they would necessarily want to take care of them or anything like that. But now we are on to the kitchen. Again, very heavily red because it is a communal area. And so I kind of did, it's sort of a galley style. It's not as narrow as a typical galley style kitchen, but because I have the counter in the middle and such, it kind of narrows it up a little bit. And so you walk in and you have your fridge and your stove and then the sink across the way, which I really like this kitchen. It's a bit different than some of my other kitchens I've done, and I really like how it turned out. I didn't clutter it near as much as I normally would have, and a lot of the communal space isn't cluttered as I normally would, and that's just because I spent so much time on each individual room cluttering it and trying to get the personality of those individual Sims, and so it's not near as cluttered in the communal areas as I typically would have gone for. But it's a lot, like, and it's kind of repetitive too, doing these multiple builds. But yeah, and then the China cabinet I did in gold, just kind of break up the red a little bit, because again, it's a lot of red. It's a lot of red in this build, and it can kind of get to be where it like hurts your eyes to look at it. So I used some gold in the china cabinets and then the little buffet table and the little coat rack thing as you exit the door there, just to kind of break up that red a little bit. And then I actually really like this shelf. I've never noticed it before, but it looks like it has like protein powder, and because these guys are so active, I definitely see a lot of them being really into like protein shakes and things like that. And so I like that I found that shelf. I had never noticed it before. And I don't know, because I know they had done, like an update, and I don't know how many we got bunk beds, and I don't know how many other items we got. And I can't remember if I did this build before or after the update, but it was around the same time, and so maybe that's a new item. I don't know. All I know is I have never noticed it before, and like I said, because they're such an active household, I definitely like the idea of them having that, and I actually put it in the second build as well. And then, in the dining room here, try to fill up the space a little bit, so I do put the two different tapestries. They're the exact same one, just in different colors, and the red one there actually is the one that gets deleted, and I don't know that I put that one back up. And then of course, you have the bar in the back, so if they're entertaining or having a little get together, they might have a few drinks and things like that. And then this is the little downstairs bathroom here, and I actually switched those windows out. I switch them so the room gets the bigger windows and then the bathroom gets the smaller windows. And this actually has a little laundry room, which the dryer got deleted, and so that was frustrating. And in here, this is where I put Devana down here, since she's the or the military agent, the covert operative. I put her down here because her hours are probably wonky, and so she might get home in the middle of the night or things like that. And so I put her down here so she didn't really disturb the rest of the household. And plus, I like the idea of either her or my detective down here, so they can kind of keep an eye if somebody was like trying to break in or anything like that. And her lucky colors, she's of course a dog, are green, red, and purple. And so, obviously we have the red wallpaper and flooring, and so that's why I went with the kind of purpley realm of magic things, the shower and the toilet and the sink there, because it's kind of a purpley and gold. And like I said, a lot of the other Sims also have gold as their lucky color, or yellow. So I thought it tied in nicely, because even though this is more her bathroom, it's also kind of a communal downstairs bathroom. And so I really wanted, like I said, try to tie in the different Sims and their colors and everything as much as possible. But yeah, and then, like I said, a little laundry room area here. So frustrating that the dryer got deleted, and I put like this laundry basket here on top, and so it was just like floating in mid-air, and I was like, okay, so I had to go in and fix that. That's one of the things, that's where I stopped when I was doing my original walkthrough. I stopped and I went in and fixed, and then restarted my walkthrough and screenshots and such, because like I said, really frustrating. And then of course trying to find a rug, that's always frustrating as well, especially when it's like an awkward area like this. It's not always so fun. I think I ended up going with this rug here. But yeah, it's the little downstairs bathroom. And now we are on to Devana's room. Like I said, she is the Doberman Pinscher. Just to catch you up in case you haven't seen Monday's video. And so the Doberman Pinscher combines the sign of Aries and the Chinese zodiac, the year of the dog. And so that's who we're working with here. She is in the military, a covert operator. She is extreme sports enthusiast. She's adventurous, outgoing, and a little bit erratic. And her name actually means a leader who shows the way and guides. So like I said, she probably has wonky hours, might get called away in the middle of the night, might come back in the middle of the night. And so I like the idea of her being down here. And I kind of went back and forth between whether I wanted her down here or I wanted the detective Sim down here, because the detective, would be here all the time. But like I said, since she does have wonky hours, I figured it'd be better for her to be down here, and that way, she she doesn't disturb the rest of the household. And where the detective room is at, he can actually look directly out onto the front porch, and so he would probably hear things. And there's actually security cameras I put up and everything like that. So this is her little area. Like I said, her lucky colors are green, red, and purple. So that's kind of what I'm combining here. And this is the bookshelf that ends up getting deleted, and those are the books that are just kind of hanging out, free floating on the wall, which is really, really awkward. Like I said, very, very frustrating. Fortunately, I didn't remember which bookshelf I had used, but fortunately for me, it was really, really easy to find, because I knew it was on the wall somehow, and there's not a whole lot of options for that. And so I was able to find it pretty quickly and put it right back up, but still very frustrating that happened. And then just, some different pictures maybe from her travels as, in the military, things like that. So now we're on to the sunroom. Like I said, this is a communal space, but I see the catfish sim using it the most. And so that's kind of what I was working with here. So he has a little paint area. There's lots of light. There's also a little area to play chess. And that's, kind of a nod that it is a communal area. And then I also put like a little couch in here. And so maybe, somebody's hanging out watching him paint, chatting with him, or anything like that. But it's mostly his area. And then I do put that little suitcase, which I at least recently learned that is also a working bookcase, even though it's not in the bookcase section. And I can't remember who I was watching where I learned that. It might have been Sydney Macaretta again, but I could be mistaken because I watch so many other sim YouTubers. So sometimes, like, I know I learned it from one of them, but I can't always remember. But yeah, I didn't know that was a working bookshelf, so I thought that was pretty cool. It was on a stream channel, so I'm pretty sure it was Sydney Macaretta, but it might have been Claire. Like, I don't really know. Those are the only two I really watch their streaming channels. So those would be the only two that I would have learned it from. But like I said, it doesn't really matter. Those channels are linked down in the description below, so if you haven't checked them out, definitely do so. I included all of my favorite sim YouTubers. So but yeah, just a nice little couch area, and then I put a little ottoman, so maybe somebody's playing chess and another person's sitting and watching again. Just kind of a little cozy area and a place for the catfish to paint, where it's a little bit more social. So that's kind of what I was going for here. And I think that's it for the downstairs. And so now we are upstairs and just dragging my flooring up and kind of working on that. And I think, yeah, of course, gotta put railings on the stairs, which is sometimes frustrating. And then the fence. This is actually one of my favorite railings and fences to use, because it's simple and it matches, because sometimes the railings and the fences don't match, and that always really frustrates me. But with this glass one, it typically works really, really well. So first off, we are going to work on the T-Rex sim. Of course, gotta do my cheats, which I always leave those in there because I used to get so frustrated, watching videos, and they would talk about the cheats, but they would never show them. So I would get really, really frustrated, and so I always leave my cheats when I put them in. I leave them in the video. Hopefully it's helpful to you guys. But T-Rex, let's see. So T-Rex is actually Aries combined with the Chinese zodiac of the dragon. And so dragon's lucky color is gold, silver, and hoary, which I learned is like a grayish white. I had never heard that term before. And so that's kind of what we're working with here. So I kind of leaned heavily like on gold and white, or like yellow and white. And obviously gray too, and tried to combine that in this space. And I love this room because it's a nice break from all the red and the darker colors. Like, it's very light and airy, which I like. And just in case you did not see Monday's video, the T-Rex, I made her a writer in the journalist branch. I can see her being like a world journalist, like going to war zones and things like that. She's not like a hometown journalist. Like they have that sense of adventure, and so she likes to travel the world and get the scoops on different things, and maybe go like to dangerous areas and things like that. Um, and so that's her career. Her aspiration is a Mount Kobarebi sightseer, and that's because they get the bonus trait of worldly knowledge, which fits into the character I was creating. She is self-assured, ambitious, and self-absorbed. Her name is Takim, and it means power to govern or to rule. So she has the Master Suite, of course, because they are, top of the food chain. And so that's why I thought out of all the Sims, she would definitely have, the master suite. It's kind of hard because you have 6 Sims. It's like who gets the master? It's not like a family. There's 6 adult Sims, and you're combining them. And so, like I said, she's kind of top of the food chain. So she gets the master suite. And then I like the idea of maybe when she's home, she might stream and talk about, important events and things like that. So I gave her a little area to stream and do her thing over here. And then there's also like a nice little cozy area for her to like read. I put like the pillows down, things like that. So she has, like I said, a little cozy area, her little working area. And then, obviously where she sleeps and whatnot. But a lot of times she's not even home. She's off traveling the world, but she definitely likes her space when she is home. And yeah, I like this room. Like I said, definitely breaks up all the red and all the dark colors of the rest of the house. And so it's probably my favorite room, I would say. Well, no. I really like Catfish's room too, which you'll see here in a little bit. His is the last bedroom I do. And his is really, really cool. I really like his room. And so I think his is my favorite and hers is probably my second favorite, but it's definitely up there. And then of course she has her own private bathroom, and I decided to give her a bath. I can see her, really pampering herself, especially after a long trip. She might just like to lay in the bath for a little while and unwind. And so I gave her a bathtub instead of a shower. Unfortunately, normally I like to do both, but this bathroom wasn't quite big enough for that, so I went with a bath over a shower. But I like to do both because, I don't know, for gameplay I prefer, I think showers are quicker, and then if you have a toddler or anything, you kind of need a bath. But that's kind of what I went with here. And then since we do have laundry, of course I had to put down hampers, which I forget quite often, and so you'll see me jump between rooms sometimes to add a hamper, and I honestly don't know if I got hampers into every room, but I did try. And then the paintings for her room, I tried, I downloaded a bunch of custom content, and a lot of them are like Japanese inspired. I think from when we got Snowy Escape, a lot of people did pictures that were Japanese inspired, and so I have a lot of those pictures in, which worked nicely for everybody in this build because they are all, very adventurous and probably like to travel to new areas. And then this is the second floor bathroom that everybody else shares. So there's 3 Sims here that will share that. And so I put a double sink in here because, like I said, 3 Sims sharing 1 bathroom. I thought it would be nice for them to have 2 sinks. And then, of course, the same shower and such that are downstairs. Since it is kind of a communal area, I just kind of copied what I did downstairs. And then, of course, you have to have your clutter, the soap and the toothbrushes, things like that. So I placed those in here as well. But yeah, I really, like I said, all the bathrooms are the same and they're nothing fancy. But I do really like this kind of purple and gold with the red. It's a lot of different colors, but I do think it works fairly nicely. And so I'm pretty happy with it. And then I put like a communal hamper in there, and so towels and things like that. I know that doesn't apply in The Sims, but I try to make it as realistic as possible. And so, you know, they probably put their towels and such in there, and then they have like their hamper in their bedroom for their own clothes and things like that. So, but yeah, this is their little bathroom. I think I put another picture on the other wall, and that is that. Now we are going to work on um, Hadif's room, which he is my hippopotamus that combines the Aries sign with the zodiac, Chinese zodiac sign of the ox. And so he is a detective. He is fabulously wealthy because that gives the bonus trait of shrewd. And I think that trait is kind of misleading. Like, if you read the description, they want to be successful in their career, but I think it's kind of misleading because sometimes you think it's all about the money, which is definitely not the case for Hadif here. And then his traits are hot-headed, ambitious, and adventurous. The ox's lucky colors are red, blue, and purple. So you can see I leaned really, really heavily on the blue for his room because I had already done, of course, red in the main build, and I had done a lot of purple in throughout the main build as well. And so I leaned heavily on the blue, and I tried to kind of do like furniture that looked very straightforward. He does have, when I was creating him, if you saw Monday's video, like I gave him like little heart boxers, and his swimsuits are like, his swimsuit is like the little red shorts, things like that. So he does kind of have like this big softy side to him, but other than that, he's kind of straightforward and straight shooting. And I put him here, and that way he can look out and kind of keep an eye, you know, on the surrounding area. And like I said, when Divana is out around the world, he can still kind of keep an eye on the front of the house, and so if anybody breaks in or anything like that, he'll be right there to hear that. And then I like the idea of him having a fish tank, just kind of adds that big softy touch. And you know, being that he's that Primal Zodiac's based on a hippopotamus, you know, they live in the water, so I kind of like the idea of bringing like a water element. Even though his element is earth, I like the idea of bringing that into his space. And then I haven't put fishes in there or anything. I always forget that. But once I start like actually playing, I will definitely add fishes to the tank. But in all of the builds that have fish tank, like most of them don't have fishes in them. So, and then I jumped back over here, and I debated on who to put over here, and I decided to go with my hammerhead sim. And that's just because one, her room's directly below the gym, so if somebody's working out, she wouldn't really care, which my praying mantis sim, who is across the way, he wouldn't want to listen to that, because he's in PR, so he's on the phone a lot, and so I figured he would be happier on the other side, and plus he wouldn't want to be right next to the T-Rex sim, Takim, just in case he hears her talking and streaming or anything like that. So I figured, you know, my hammerhead, who is a very athletic sim, I figured she would do better on this side underneath the gym and then next to Takim. So if Takim's like streaming or anything like that, she's not really gonna care. So for hammerhead, that combines the sign of Aries with the Chinese zodiac of the horse. She is an athlete, the professional branch. She's a serial romantic, so they don't like to be tied down, like they always want to keep moving. And then she's non-committal, active, and adventurous. Her name is Helenka, and it means intense, strong, and powerful. So the horse lucky colors are brown, yellow, and purple. So you can see I leaned heavily on brown and purple for her room, especially the brown aspect. And again, just trying to break up some of the colors I used a lot, with some of the different colors that fit with the different sims. And so like I said, she is a professional athlete, so she also probably travels a lot for like sporting events and things like that. And so I put some sporting junk in here as well, clutter. And then she also has like a basketball and soccer ball, which I don't know. I haven't really decided for her character. I like the idea of her being a swimmer since she is a hammerhead shark, but she also probably maybe plays another sport. And unfortunately, you can't really choose in The Sims. But you know, I don't know. So I definitely see her as a swimmer, but she probably does something else as well. And she probably enjoys all sports. So depending on the season, she's playing whatever kind of goes along with that season. But yeah, this is her little space. Pretty cozy, pretty basic, nothing too fancy. And then of course she has her gear. So maybe in the off season she might go mountain climbing and things like that. So she has her own gear up here, even though there's some, you know, this little wall hanging thing is downstairs as well. And then she, of course, she has all her medals and such that she won. I really wanted to put that bowling trophy case in, but it's very bowling heavy. Like, I wish it was kind of more generic, and I don't see her as a bowler. Like, maybe she does, but I don't see her as one, and so I didn't put that in. And then over here we have the praying mantis, which is Aries combined with the Chinese zodiac year of the snake. His name is Panju, which means one who has a smooth-natured personality. He is in PR. His aspiration is city native because the bonus trait is in the know, so he can like haggle over prices like at food stalls and things like that. He's self-assured, ambitious, and outgoing. The snake lucky colors are red, light yellow, and black. So you can see for his room, I went heavily on the red and black. I didn't really want to do yellow, especially because Takim's room is kind of more of like a yellow gold color. And so I decided to go more heavily on the black for him with the red combined in, because of course red and black look really, really good together. And then his is kind of streamlined as well. Like I said, he is in PR, and he probably, you know, might have clients up here on occasion. Not all the time, but definitely on occasion. So I want to add in that component. So if he does have a client over or whatever and has to bring him up here, his space is kind of a little bit more professional looking and clean than maybe some of the other spaces. It's not as personalized, I would say. And then of course just some basic artwork, you know, drink tray if he's entertaining or whatever. Nothing too over the top and nothing too personal, like very, very streamlined, I would say. And then of course some magazines so he can keep up with the gossip on some of his clients. And then I just added some pictures in the hallway. So I did these pictures here, again very Japanese inspired on either side, and then I went, you know, in all the different hallways as well. And then in this little hallway here I just put that little picture. But now we are on to my catfish room, which is my favorite room, and his name is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and I didn't realize this at first, but either Caston or Caston, which means a good-natured, energetic, sensitive, emotional, and able person. And he is a freelancer. He's actually a paranormal investigator. And then his aspiration is painter extraordinaire, because they have kind of a creative side to them, and so I really included that in his personality. And his catfish combined the sign of Aries with the year of the sheep, and so sheep lucky colors are green, red, and purple. So you can see I did heavily on the purple and green for his area, and very, very creative. They kind of have like a fun kind of side to them, and I put them up here because, like, reading the information on the catfish, they like, why they're very social. When something goes wrong or they get upset, they like their own space. So I like the idea of him having his own space on the top floor, and it's also up high, and he can kind of do his painting up here, kind of look out the window, things like that. But his room is a lot of fun, and I really, really like it. It's very unique, and his personality is kind of a very unique personality too. And a lot of these Sims were very similar to each other, especially all being under the sign of Aries. Like, they had certain traits that were very similar to each other, and he kind of is just the oddball of the group. And like I was talking about, I think in yesterday's video, you know, he would actually have fit better into my second house of Aries, and there's actually one sim in that house that would have fit better in this house, but I'm doing them by elements and breaking them down that way, and so he kind of ended up in this first house even though he doesn't necessarily quite fit in with them. And I kind of like that though, like it shows the different sides. Like just because you're Aries doesn't mean you have to fit this description. There's different components that come into play, and whether you like are a hardcore believer in astrology and things like that, or you don't believe it in all, I definitely think it all ties together. Your Western sign with your Chinese sign, and then your individual personalities and things like that. That picture there, I liked it, but I thought maybe he painted it, and so I wanted to put it on the wall. But when I was doing something, and you could see it from the bottom floor, like you could see the shadow, so I ended up actually deleting that picture. But anyway, I just kind of like that he's a little bit different. Like he still has that Aries component. Like he's still very strong-willed, and he's not necessarily a leader like some of the others, but he's not a follower either. Like he's gonna do what he's gonna do. But I like that he's a little bit different than the others, who are very active and kind of tough, and then he's a little bit more creative and just fun. And then of course he has his little bathroom up here as well, which is pretty much the same as the other bathrooms. I just, because of its size, I added a few other components. It has the little like cabinet, which is nice for this area since it is so far up. Bring the supplies, stock it well, and you don't have to worry about it for a little while. And why it's mainly his bathroom, again, it is kind of a communal area as well, because you have the office here as well as the gym, and they're obviously not gonna necessarily run all the way downstairs every time they need to use the bathroom. And so for the office, this is just kind of a communal office. So I actually did 2 desks. I did one in red and one in purple. Well, the desks themselves, I think, are the same, but like the computers, one's red, one's purple, things like that. And then I did like a little chair area. And so it's kind of just a communal office for everybody. I don't think, maybe Hadaf or Hanju might use it. Takim has her own little area. Devana might use it on occasion when she is home. Just kind of like it's like kind of a communal area that they all share. But since there are so many Sims, I wanted to have like 2 computers in here that they could utilize and share. Like so, where it was important, they have their own. And actually, I probably should have done a computer in Panju's room. Being PR, he probably might need to utilize a computer. I don't know. But he has his phone anyway, and it's probably definitely a smartphone. And he probably has a tablet that he does most of his work on and things like that. But again, I just tried to combine the 2 different colors in here so it wasn't all just the same. And then just some art on the walls to kind of fill up that space and make it a little bit nicer. And then some rugs, make it a little cozier, especially along the chair there. Somebody might come and read a book or something like that. And now, of course, we had to have a gym. They are all very, very active Sims, and they definitely need to keep in shape, at least 3 of them. And even Panju probably really, really enjoys working out. And I even see Takim working out as well, because she's traveling the world. She definitely needs to be able to protect herself and be physically fit. So I see all of them except maybe Caston kind of using this gym, and tried to break it up again. So it's very heavily red, but I also did the brown on the walls and such, so it's not as red as the rest of the build, even though it is a communal area. And then I used like some black accent table here. So there's the TV where they can work out. There's this little towel rack thing. I also put a stereo in, so if somebody's not working out with the TV, they can put the stereo on, punching bag, lifting weights, and then of course the treadmill. And then outside on this little deck area, I like the idea of like a physical or a wellness area. So there's a couple yoga mats, and then a little wellness mat there as well. And so they can kind of sit and unwind that way, especially maybe after traveling. They might, just want kind of a low-key type of workout and just, kind of zen and unwind from their travels. So that's kind of what I was working with there. And now I'm switching out the lights, and I forgot to put curtains in this build, which I always typically forget something, and so I did forget curtains, but at least I remember the lights, so it's not all just the little saucer lights. I'm trying to do better on that. I love the saucer lights, but they don't add very much character to the build, so I'm trying to do better about adding different lights to add a little bit more character to my builds. And so that's what we're doing here, is working on that. But that's pretty much it. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this build and what you think of the different rooms. Again, if you haven't watched the previous videos, definitely do so you can see the bookshelves missing there and the entryway table there. That's so frustrating, and I didn't even notice it at this point. But yeah, let me know how you think I did, and check out the other videos so you kind of have a better idea of the different Sims and the different characters we're working with. But I had a lot of fun with this. And again, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you are notified when I do upload. This is probably going to be the second house is probably always going to be like on the Saturday after I complete the creative sim for that house, or yeah. And so definitely, like I said, that's not my normal schedule, but just subscribe and hit the bell notification so you are notified when I upload. So this is the new entryway table, which is not near as nice as the first one. And then I do put the skis and such back under it as well. So frustrating. But yeah, that's my build, and I really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys did as well. I know this video was really, really long, but there's a lot of characters in play here. And so you have Divana and Panju there sitting and chatting, and then Kasten in here painting, and then outside here you're gonna have Hadaf and Helenka playing some b-ball here. I really like them. And then Takim is upstairs on her computer. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here for the walkthrough. And then, of course, the screenshots are at the end. Remember to check back Monday, where we will create the next 2 Sims, which starts the House of Aries, House 2. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you next time. Have a great weekend, and happy Easter, everyone. Bye.